And so that movement actually got co-opted. The founders of Black Lives Matter wound up like selling, Google gave them like $500,000 and all these different things. Now, whatever, get your money. I'm not tripping. At the end of the day, though, I don't care if somebody else thinks my life matters. What you think, I don't care about. But my black guns protect my life. They protect my children. They protect my family, my loved ones. If you believe that your black life matters, or if you, as a European American, whatever, Spanish American, if you believe that black lives or whatever life matters, you should have the means to defend them. Every time there's been a de-arming of the population, not long after there's been, massacres. You're looking at Venezuela, you're looking at, Mao, you're looking at all of these different places. That's just, I don't care what ethnicity you have. That is world history. The other person that's pushing for very anti-freedom agendas are very racist, are like control freaks that want people to do exactly what they want them to do. And it's like, I don't have to do what you want me to do if I'm strapped. I'm willing to die about mine. And I think there's nothing more patriotic and American than that. With that being the case, in defense of life and liberty. With that being the case, if one person dies in a mass shooting, or the definition of it, that's too many. On top of that, the mass shootings that mass media talks about, they make up for less than 1% of all deaths all the time. Then they forget to also neglect to mention that this mass shooting problem that they're talking about, it started to spike under legislation that was created by Joe Biden. Gun-free zones were created in 1990 by Joe Biden. They became into law by Bill Clinton under that whole lock the black people up, Clinton crime bill stuff. And since then, since gun-free zones were enacted, over 90% of those mass shootings are in gun-free zones.
So you're saying criminals don't respect the signs that say gun-free zones?
Who would have knew?
That's really bizarre to me.
Yeah, it's like, it's so rude of them to not see the sign and be like, you know what, guys, we can't shoot it up in here. You know what I'm saying?
I was going to commit a crime, but this says no crime.
Clearly, I'm tripping.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so the problem is, the left has way better PR than we do on the right. They have to, because they don't have substance. You got to hit them with the flash and bang when you don't have no actual, facts and data. So they're very good at manipulating the stats. They'll say 30, 40,000 deaths a year are gun-related, neglecting the fact that 60% of those are suicides, neglecting the fact that all of those mass shooters that they're talking about, the vast majority of those guys are on psych meds. But we can't have a conversation about the pharmaceuticals.
I'm big into having the conversation on the pharmaceuticals. I always say when there is a mass shooting, I think it's one of the biggest contributors that nobody is talking about, which is mental health.
The areas where there's less respect for the Second Amendment, that means they create more legislation. The legislation is what makes it safe for the bad guy, because it's like, one, I know that I'm the bad guy, most of y'all are the good guys. Nobody's going to return fire. That's number one. Number two, the people that do have firearms, in whichever way they get them, some people lawfully, some people unlawfully, but their intent is to protect themselves. Now, because it's a taboo conversation, especially in the hood, you think if you go to a range, you're going to go to jail. So you don't have that conversation. Now you're not getting educated. Now you leave your firearm around because the movies told you you're supposed to leave it under the pillow. Now you don't know anything about proper firearm storage. Now when we have that 2, 3-year-old that shoots themselves in the face, because that's how most children do it, the gun is not, their fingers aren't large enough, so they turn it backwards so their thumbs can grab it. And that's why they shoot themselves in the face most times. Because you didn't want to be educated about it because you thought it was taboo, because we didn't open up the conversation. In the 90s, the nation had serious problems with teen pregnancy. It was all over the place. We didn't ban sex. Or we didn't stop.
Didn't?
No, thankfully. I got some really hot girls in my DM. We didn't ban sex. We just had conversations about educating people. Teen pregnancy dropped. The problem is to have the conversation about firearm safety. It's a Pandora's box for some of them tyrants. Again, all gun control is racist. When the concept was started, it was to make sure that people of color did not have the means to protect themselves, flat out. And if that changes a little bit in how it looks on the surface, the intent and the agenda is still the same. All of the places, mostly right, sorry to my friends on the left, all of the places that have less gun restriction, more respect for proper safety, knowledge, training, and storage, have lower rapes, lower homicides, lower violent crime. Purchase firearms. I want you to get proper training. I want you to study world history. Hitler was elected democratically. He didn't take over. He was elected to that position, you know? He de-armed an entire population or section of people and then proceeded to murder them. Hitler is not the only example of that. You got, communist regimes, socialist regimes all over the world. So this isn't no new thing. Every 40 years, people forget what happens with socialism and then, oh yeah, Venezuela. So I want you to not fall victim to that. I want you to support the people that are doing the work. I want, if your personal commitment right now cannot be that you can do it yourself, I want you to link with and support people politically, socially, financially, whatever, that are doing that work that affects positive change and steers this idea, this experiment of freedom and liberty in the direction of freedom and liberty. If not, if you're hearing this conversation and if you're not willing to do that, you're not a part of the solution. You're a bitch. Toure out.
Wow, I thought I was going to say, you're part of the problem.
Yeah, no.